Okay, g'day, I'm Andrew. This is my new YouTube channel. I thought I'd start off one of my first videos on YouTube with an introduction and an explanation of my description of myself in the bio. In the bio, I've described myself as a straight edge Buddhist punk vegan. So straight edge is a post-punk movement that basically means you've gone through all the sex, drugs and rock and roll of the punk days, and you've gone clean, you've gone straight, and you've become spiritual, and that's straight edge. So the kind of spirituality that I've recently converted to is the very well-known spirituality of Buddhism. And so Buddhist punk, I first saw a Buddhist punk as a fashion label in my home area of Bondi. This was many years ago. But Buddhist punk is how I describe myself, because punk is my background and Buddhism is this new spirituality that I've converted to. It's a very old spirituality, but it's relatively new for me. So I have met another Buddhist punk when I was living up north in the area of northern New South Wales called Byron. He was a big Scotsman called Bradley McFadden, and he was an initiated Buddhist, and he was also a tattooed Scottish punk. So my name Andrew Ross. I also have Scottish blood, but Bradley was a bona fide Buddhist punk. And he was one of the people who's influenced me along my path. And part of Buddhism is the Buddhist Dharma, and my interpretation of the Buddhist Dharma aligns with my values of veganism, straight edge, and spirituality. So veganism being a practice of not harming any animals, and a peaceful practice known as the ancient virtue of ahimsa in Sanskrit. Ahimsa means non-violence. So veganism is one of my key points in my Buddhist practice, that I practice ahimsa and non-violence. So I recently converted to Buddhism, and I've also recently opened up this YouTube channel. And so the guy who inspired me to open up this YouTube channel is my friend here sitting next to me, Orin. Orin is a old boy from Sydney Boys High School, which is a high school we both went to, and I haven't caught up with him for a long time since we left high school, but during that interim, Oren was in finance, but then he had an awakening. He had a Satori experience, an enlightenment experience, and now he wants to get into dual psychology as a way of fulfilling his path and taking into account his awakening experience. So this is Oren, and this is my chat with Oren.
How you going? Okay, so yeah, nice to see that you're all set up and ready to go on your channel.
Thanks, bro.
You know, I've been thinking about setting up a channel for a while, but you were the first to do it, and maybe you've actually inspired me to take the plunge as well at some point in the future.
Well,
for your proactivity.
Yeah, well, we're getting up on camera now, so it's an experience, isn't it?
Oh yeah. First time, first run, you know, it's all happening here.
And so tell us about your Satori awakening and why that led you to dual psychology, Oren.
So basically, you know, you read like you can go down. I never went down the traditional path of Zen. Obviously, I had like more a spontaneous kind of like mind expansion / awakening. Basically, the premise of the whole practice of self-realization is basically getting in touch with who you really are, and in the commercial sense, away from all the texts and all the, the tradition, like all the old school stuff. They'll tell you to be the observer of the mind, watcher of the mind, in order to connect with who you truly are. But that's very difficult for like the ego mind to accept. The ego mind thinks that it is who you are. The voice inside your head is who you're aligned with, or most people are aligned with in everyday life. But there is that which can observe and watch the voice inside your head moment to moment to moment. Now you'd ask me, how can you live life and also observe your mind moment to moment to moment? Well, it's something that you need to practice, similar to like going to the gym, lifting weights. Some people may have a strong sense of awareness and not even be aware of that. Other people might not have a strong sense of awareness, so it's something that you might need to build. But like in terms of like mind expansion, self-realization, there is an all-pervading awareness that is constantly opened up in the background, watching your mind and your thoughts and your feelings moment to moment to moment. So it's just an expanded version of the human being. Normal human beings, or like people that are completely aligned with the ego, are completely aligned with the voice inside their head. And the way that you can get out of the voice inside your head and recognize it for what it is like every time it starts, you find yourself that it starts to go into battles one way or another. This is like me before the self-realization or the awakening. There'll be like, but this, but that, but that, but this, but that, but that. And you just like go back and forth in your mind over some issue. Now,
and is this connected with the dual psychology, like having a non-dual objective perspective on your consciousness? Is that connected with the concept of dual psychology?
Non-dual psychology would be like it will be mindfulness-based psychotherapy, mindfulness-based solutions to the tug of war that's happening inside your mind, back and forth. And that's what it was like beforehand, is that there'll be this voice inside your head terrorizing you at times, around certain issues or certain things that trigger you. Now the key thing is to try and like depersonalize away from the voice inside the brain and to start watching it. So every time it comes up and it starts spinning its BS to you, you can just go like this with your hand.
Yeah.
And it keeps on saying what it's saying, and you go like this. So it's kind of like, the Karate Kid, hands on, wax off, for an entire day or 2 or 3 or a week. Every time you can, during different parts of the day, when the mind starts terrorizing you with different thoughts and feelings, you can just go like this. There it goes again. There it goes again. There it goes again. It's just spinning the same old stuff to you over to break its momentum, so to speak. Or you can just observe it through creating space around your thoughts. If you cannot be aware of spaciousness around you, you can basically create abstract space in your mind and observe your mind from that abstract space.
This sounds very similar to information that I've interpreted from the Buddhist Heart Sutra, or the Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which involves the concept of emptiness, or shunyata, as everything is empty. Basic phenomena, all phenomena are in their essence empty. And if you see that emptiness, and that form is emptiness and emptiness is form, you get this feeling of that space in your mind that I think you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And even from my pseudoscientific understanding of physics, on some levels of quantum physics, from what I understand, that where basically everything is 99% nothing.
That's it.
And so if you can get an understanding of this sense of nothingness, that you are and I am nothing,
mm-hmm.
you really get this feeling of space. So these aspects of your consciousness or your psyche then become just a wisdom play of the phenomena. The phenomena from the basic ground in the emptiness through the akasha and the prana rises up the phenomena which are a wisdom play. And you can just learn from your own mind, you can learn from the phenomena around you, as long as you're aware and that they are in their essence empty.
That's
and
it.
and in that way you don't become attached to them, because how can you hold on to nothing? You can't hold on to nothing. So therefore you lose your attachment to the world of form and the phenomena of the world of form, and your mind opens up to this expansive view which is emptiness at its core.
That's it. That's exactly what it is. It's like when you have a mind expansion, an awakening, so to speak. You know, there's different levels of awakening, but like, you know, there comes a point where you're aware of awareness itself. Awareness of awareness itself is going beyond thoughts and beyond feelings. So like the watcher of the mind watches thoughts, watches feelings, and then you can go one step further and you can be aware that you are awareness itself. Therefore, you can let go of the thoughts and the feelings when in that moment to moment to moment to moment, there's an understanding that you are awareness itself. So you need to get to a point where you're not just aware of thoughts and feelings, which you do through meditation. In meditation, you are the space in your head. You're the space in which thoughts and feelings rise and falling. Now, if you understand, once you experience that spaciousness, when thoughts and feelings start to die down, you can get into a state called Samadhi or Satori, where there is just emptiness and empty space, and the fleeting thoughts arising and falling in this space that you are. You're allowing thoughts and feelings to come up. You don't push thoughts away. Most people in society try to push thoughts away and soldier on. They try to use their will, their ego will, to solve their problems, but there comes a point where you may have one or two major blockages in your life that are causing you distress. Everyone has them, and you will not be able to push through them so much with your ego. You will have to allow the feelings and the thoughts to rise up and be the spaciousness which contains them. And the spaciousness which contains them is you. And when you become aware of that, you can rise above the mind. So awareness of awareness itself needs to occur moment to moment to moment in order to get into Samadhi states, which is you experiencing emptiness as you. It's empty space that's aware of empty space. You are empty space at your highest context of reality.
And Samadhi, I watched a video on Samadhi, and the guy seemed to impress upon me that one of the meanings of Samadhi is a non-dual consciousness, a acknowledgement of the duality of the world of duality around us, good, evil, black, white, male, female, etc. All these different aspects of duality. And Samadhi is like being aware of this phenomena being empty, and so no longer being caught in the backwards and forwards of dual consciousness.
That's correct. That's it. And the stronger your awareness is, the stronger you'll be able to detach or find your balance within the context of, like all the things that trigger you. But the trick is to, in the beginning you want to practice watching your mind and just being the watcher. To make the leap from awareness that you are the watcher of the mind, moment to moment to moment, is a much more difficult thing. You might have to just watch the mind, constantly be watching the mind, and get into the practice of developing the muscle of awareness. And then once the muscle is strong enough, you can actually start becoming, in each moment or in fleeting moments, you can become aware that you are awareness itself, and there's a massive release of consciousness from the mind when you are aware of awareness itself. There's a huge, massive release of consciousness from the mind and even from the body, because being aware of awareness itself awareness is everywhere. And that's like another that's another like deeper thing that you can get into, in saying that, like, you know, you can watch your mind from your head, you can watch your mind from any part of your body, any location in your body you can watch your mind from. So awareness is in your brain, it's also in your body, and it's also, believe it or not, it is outside of your body, in every single location outside of you, in every corner, from every quadrant. You can actually be aware of thoughts, of feelings, of the physical world, okay, and also of awareness itself. So if you're aware of awareness itself from outside of you in different coordinates, then basically you are aware of yourself in every coordinate outside of you. So therefore you're non-local. You're not just your physical body. In your highest context, you are beyond the physical body. You're the watcher of the mind. So you have to start watching your mind first from your head, then you have to start watching your mind from different parts of your body, and say, okay, well, I can watch my mind from my feet, I can watch my mind from my stomach, I can watch my mind from my throat, I can watch my mind from this point on my hand, that point on my hand, this point on the hand, this point on my hand, this point here, this point there. So I can watch my mind from different parts of my body, and then we can extend it out even to this point in the empty space. I can watch my mind from here. And if I had a ruler or whatever and I pointed it here, you can watch your mind from there and watch your mind from there. And then you can watch yourself from, you can extend it all out into the horizons. So you can extend the watcher of the mind and awareness of it outside of your body into the empty spaces and into the horizons, in that direction, in that direction, in that direction, in that direction. Therefore, where are you? You're everywhere then. There is awareness of awareness itself in every single coordinate inside your body, inside your head, and outside your body into the horizons in every direction. So that's self-realization. Self-realization is realizing that you're not just the voice inside your head, you're its watcher. And beyond its watcher, you're the awareness that you're the watcher. You are the awareness in every moment that you are the watcher of the mind. So in every moment, okay, if we talk about it in terms of data, if you like break reality down to like every single minute little Planck space, in every Planck frame or Planck space, there's data, there's physical data, there's mental data, there's emotional data, there's awareness. So there's physical, mental, emotional, and there's awareness in every coordinate outside of you or inside of you. If we break, and everything is space, right? 99% empty space. So space is everywhere. We can break space down into little tiny little clusters called, or coordinates called Planck spaces. And in the Planck space, there's all the data. Even awareness is contained in that data. So you can be aware of awareness itself inside that little Planck frame. You can be aware of thoughts. You can be aware of your feelings. You can be aware of the physical world. Okay? You can also be aware of awareness itself, watching your mind, because you can watch your mind from that outside your body from any Planck space. If we break space down into little clusters or the lowest common, the lowest like form of coordinate or whatever around you. So like it's like a pixel in a game. It's like pixels of.
I've been watching on Facebook the scientist Nassim Haramein, who is a groundbreaking scientist who believes that all spiritual phenomenon have their roots in science that we don't understand yet, and he says some very similar information to what you're saying, and things like the toroidal shape of existence on a fractal level meets that singularity point that you're talking about in the center of the torus.
Mm-hmm.
So you visualize in your center a torus field of energy around you. This like point of awareness, if you center on it, it then goes up in fractal levels or down in fractal levels to the quantum level, or in fractal levels upwards to the universal level. So in what you're saying, that self-realization um, is this awareness of awareness.
Mm-hmm. Awareness of awareness itself, yeah.
That I do understand what you're talking about, and that's like backed up by this guy in a really scientific way. Like I'm not that scientifically minded myself, but he explains it in a similar way to what you do.
Yeah, and that's the tenet of empty, like you being empty space. You, at your highest context, at the 3D level context, you are the physical body. Okay, there's physical data. There's physical data, and then beyond the physical data, there's mental data, and there's emotional data, and there's your awareness. So most people say, you ask them, who am I? Who are you? I ask you, who are you? You'll tell me. Most people will go, well, I don't know about all these Buddhist BS or whatever, or like about all these pseudoscience or anything, but as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm the physical body. My thoughts are my feelings, and I'm my awareness. Okay, fair enough. That's the lower you. But when you have self-realization, you kind of understand that it's kind of like the paradox. What came first, awareness or the brain? The brain, or like Darwinism would tell you, the brains kind of came first, and then awareness was formed. And the Buddhists, which go to the lowest level of mind, which is awareness of awareness itself, will tell you otherwise. So, you can either believe your brain, your ego brain, which is telling you that you are the voice inside your head, its feelings in the physical world, the physical body, not the world, the physical body. Buddhists go to or like people who are self-realized, or people who've had awakenings, they come to this daunting sometimes realization to the ego. You kind of like have an ego death over a number of years, where you realize that, hang on a second, I am awareness of awareness itself. Beyond my thoughts, beyond my feelings, I'm awareness. And my awareness is also registering all physical phenomena. So then the question becomes then, can you be aware of that which is registering? There is something within you. It's not really within you. It's really just there. Okay, if you accept the fact that you might have to accept the fact you're not the brain. That there's something there that's registering all physical phenomena, mental phenomena, emotional phenomena, and awareness itself. It's registering them for you to look at, so that you can become aware of the physical, the mental, the emotional, and most importantly, this is the quantum leap, you've got to be aware of the awareness itself. So you're looking at all this data. You are looking at all this data. Now, where are you? You'll tell me, I'm in my mind. I'm in my brain. That's a thought. Remember, you're not a thought. You'll tell me then, well, I'm the physical body. And I'll tell you, well, try again. That was just a thought about you. Where are you? Who are you? Your awareness itself, where is it? Yeah, well, I know what you're talking, I know what you're trying to say. This is all a play of words. Again, what you just said to me was just a bunch of thoughts. Remember, like, in meditation, you are the space in which thoughts arise and form. And we can extend that space outside your body into the horizons in every direction, remember. So you really are the space which contains it all. And you're aware of it all as you. But then people will just go, yeah, this is all just words. It's all just, there's no scientific backing. And what do you tell me? You tell me a bunch of thoughts. So for most people, the entire existence is just a bunch of thoughts. You tell me about you. What are you going to tell me? You tell me a bunch. You'll tell me I'm Andrew Ross, Body D. I went to Sydney High, blah, blah, blah. You've got your story about who you are. You've got a name. That's thoughts. That's a bunch of thoughts. Then you go, yeah, well, I'm not just a bunch of thoughts. I'm a bunch of I feel too. I'm a human. I feel. I go, okay, well, you can observe feelings, can't you? Yeah, but that's just the awareness in my mind. But you see, this is where people get trapped with this whole thing. they'll go, yeah, but I'm just the awareness in my mind. See, that's just a thought which is occurring inside a spaciousness and awareness itself. And then you'll just go, well, okay, well, you've got me confused. I don't know what's got. So where am I? Who am I? Well, that's the whole thing. You need to find who you are and where you are. Where is awareness itself? And they'll just go back again. People will just go back again and say, oh, well, I don't know what you're confusing me. I know that I'm this physical body. If I take a knife and I cut into it, blood's going to come out. And I'm going to feel feelings. That's right. So what you just told me there again was just a bunch of thoughts about who you are. And that a knife, if it cuts into your hand, is going to, you're going to start bleeding. That's physical data. It's mental data about who you think you are. It's invoking emotional data, and blood will come out. That's physical. But I'm just saying, beyond the data points, there's also awareness itself. So there's awareness. So you go, okay, well, I'm awareness. I'm the physical. I'm the mental. I'm the emotional. That's who I am. Okay, but the whole thing is you can take it a step further, and you can be aware of all those points, including awareness, and then that will lead you to self-realization of who you are. And then people will just say, this argument can keep on going forever, because they'll just say, well, this is all occurring in your mind. All this perception of what you're telling me, it's all just occurring in your head. This whole experience of oneness, this whole experience of you being extended into the horizons in every direction and experiencing yourself in every coordinate as awareness itself, that's all happening inside your brain. But you don't know that.
But a thing that I was reminded of when you're describing this going beyond is there are several things actually, like in the Buddhist texts that I was telling you about before, the Heart Sutra, the great mantra in that actually directly says those who have gone beyond, who have gone completely beyond, awakened, perfected. That's like one of the translations of the Heart Sutra mantra. So what I think would be great, because you've had this awakening that you had this realization, and you can actually back it up through things like the ancient sacred Buddhist texts,
Right.
where the awakened one, the Buddha meaning awakened, has it as of having this great awakening, is the one who has gone beyond. They've crossed over to the other shore, and in crossing over to the other shore, and experiencing this awakened expansion of consciousness, similar to what you're talking about, what the Buddha says is the final aim, or my interpretation of what the Buddha says, is the final aim is complete cessation of suffering, and where the being finds through this awareness of awareness and the corresponding awakening and progression beyond that you're talking about, the next level, that the result of this, the perfected result of this next level of awakening and going beyond, is cessation and is final extinguishment.
Of your body and mind, yeah?
Not only when you die, but you're never reincarnated. Your body and mind are extinguished finally. This is like the great enlightenment that the Buddha is said to have had when he passed into parinirvana. It was his final extinguishment. No more rebirths, and that's the peak of soul evolution, to get to this point of enlightenment where you're no longer attached to the phenomena are empty. You realize this, you stop grasping, you go beyond, your mind expands into this beyond the horizon consciousness expansion, and then you become completely extinguished. So you never have to reincarnate, you never have to suffer again in the world of form with the duality and all the pain and suffering that people go through in life, you're finally extinguished. And this is like the culmination of the spiritual path.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, look, there's different levels of integration as well. I think you've got to integrate this whole, like awakening self-realization. It all needs to be integrated into every single aspect or theme of life, which can become very taxing and very, very difficult because different parts of you have to die out. I mean, everyone's going through like a bit of a ego death, so to speak, but they're just going through it at a slower pace and at their own pace.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're self-realized, or when you're pretty high, very high up like yourself, then, I mean, obviously you're quite very high up. I feel this very tranquil, chill, almost like that non-dual awareness itself inside of you, emanating through your pores inside you. Whether you're aware of that strongly, I'm not sure, but you have this very strong, like hollow, chilled, beautiful energy radiating inside and outside of you. But the key thing is to be aware of that. And it needs to be integrated. So like, you might have different, like conditions that are, holding up your vehicle, and like you're doing well because certain conditions are in place. Well, non-duality is about really letting go of all those conditions. So that's why it's quite a difficult path. Once a lot of people self-realize, they need to integrate that the outcome of the self-realization, the answer from the self-realization, I am nothing, needs to be integrated into your dealings with different people, and different people that push your buttons, that push all your mini traumas inside your soul, inside your ego. Those triggers are going to come up, and you need to learn to do the Obi-Wan Kenobi and raise your sword and just die. Die to yourself. Die to your true self.
I'm one with the Force is one with me.
That's it, man. Like, that's why Obi-Wan raised his sword. He raised his sword because he knew that if he died, he would become more powerful than anything you could ever imagine. Because once you die to your true self, which is empty space, self-aware of itself as you, emptiness, you can't be harmed. Nothing can harm nothingness. So it's kind of like you can look at it from the perspective of like, there's tornadoes, there's storms, there's floods, there's natural disasters that occur inside the body of God. God is the space, the spaciousness in which all these storms and all these battles and all these wars and all these things occurring. But you see, God, the emptiness, is unharmed. It's the same thing inside of you. You're just a microcosm of the whole, of that concept. You'll have all these storms, you'll have all these tornadoes, you'll have all these, crazy storms and crazy stuff and explosions, nuclear bombs occurring inside of you. The people that trigger you the most, or like with your traumas and everything else. You'll have all these storms, and you need to be like God. It's just the empty space. You need to be the space in which all those storms arise and fall. And you can see, like, if there's a tornado or there's a massive storm with floods happening around in winter, well, the space which hosts those storms, God, is unharmed. It's the same thing inside of you. You'll have all these storms come up and rise and fall. You might even have a panic attack, but you're the space in which that panic attack occurred in. The space is unharmed. It's kind of like, you can try and take the empty space out. This is how strong you can become if you understand that you're empty space. You're just the empty space everywhere, self-aware. You're nothingness, no thing. If you start you try and take out the empty space around you. Just the concept of empty space. Try and take it out. Punch it. Do whatever you want. Try and grab it. Punch as hard as you can. try and take it out. The empty space around us cannot be harmed. And that's your power. The power of Zen is, the power of self-realization is, you need to integrate that truth, is that you are the space in which everything occurs in. You're the host of all the storms within you, and even extended without you, and it cannot be taken out.
This is really interesting. Like, how I initially converted to Buddhism was just as part of my nightly walks to down the road to Coogee Beach. I go past a Shaolin monk training room, and I looked at the pictures in the window, and one of them was of a Buddhist patriarch called Bodhidharma, who I then studied. He studied Bodhidharma's wake-up sermon and Bodhidharma's bloodstream sermon, and that got me hooked, and I went then to the Blessed One, to the Buddha, and I've been studying the Buddha since then, which is only a couple of months. But what the Shaolin monks believe, that they have displayed, Shaolin monks display great feats of strength and endurance, and what they believe, that the strength comes from within, it comes from your own mind. So what you're describing there is linking the concept of shunyata, or nothingness, emptiness, with these abilities to transmute great strength from the mind. So you're even describing how one of the possible methods of utilizing mind over matter to create great strength, where you pass yourself through the material world as though it were nothing, because in your mind it is nothing, and in reality it is nothing. The phenomena are empty, so why shouldn't you be able to just crush a stack of bricks?
No, true. That's it. It's like, it's nothing, but it's everything. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. That's the duality. That's like back into the duality of everything. You know, it's like you are you, but you're also everything as well. You're the entire universe, but you're also you. You know what I'm saying? This whole world, just basically as you described it, it is and it isn't. It's the yin and the yang. So to go beyond that, you just have to watch and be aware that you are the observing presence of nothingness. Nothingness, self-aware, is really who you are. So you can't really be touched. In your essence, you can't really be touched. And even if, then it can even go beyond the physical, because you'll tell me, well, you know, like, well, I can shoot you, or I can take a sword or a knife and I can kill you. But once you're self-realized, you understand what Obi-Wan Kenobi, for example, understood was, if you strike me down, yes, the physical will die, but the physical's one data point, only one data point in reality. And there's, and obviously housed within the physical is the mental and the emotional and the psychological and your awareness, but beyond that, there's awareness itself. And again, we'll go back to this same argument that says, well, you don't know for sure whether your awareness itself, because it could all just be happening in your mind. But the Buddhists, or any master or anyone that's in the experience, will tell you, well, just let go. Just let go of all judgments for a second. Let go of all judgments about, or all stories about who you are, because they're all just a bunch of thoughts. So you need to let go of everything, so you do the self-inquiry. You've got to do a self-inquiry by letting go of preconceived judgments, because there's a preconceived judgment or belief that it's all happening in the brain. If you strike me down or shoot me down, I am the brain, I'm the body, and then I'm dead. That you've got a preconceived notion that you are the brain. Let's let go of that notion for a second, and let's do a self-inquiry. So you can, again, you'll ask, who are you? I am my body. Yeah, that's a thought. Whatever you give me is always going to be a thought, and thoughts can always be looked at. Thoughts, and then you'll go to me, well, that thing which is looking at thoughts, that's happening in my brain. That's happening in my brain. That's just another bunch of thoughts again. And you'll just go, yeah, but science tells me this and that, but that's just a bunch of thoughts. Let those Let's let go of all preconceptions of what you are. So every time, any answer you're giving me all the time, or you give yourself, when you try and find yourself and who you are, you'll always notice you're just giving a bunch of thoughts. Even science, that stuff that's backed by science, is just a bunch of thoughts and stories around the truth. The truth is awareness. The real truth is that everything, the lowest common denominator of everything, of all matter, is awareness of awareness itself. Is empty space, is awareness of empty space. It's very difficult to understand, but like anything that I ask myself about who I am, where I am, how I am, I'll just give myself I'll just answer it with a bunch of thoughts, which there's this all-pervading spaciousness all around me that's observing and can let them go. Just like I can meditate in my head, I can let go of thoughts and feelings and perceptions in my head and go back to that which is watching them. When you expand yourself into the horizons, you start realizing that you're the spaciousness that hosts everything, including your physical body and your mind. And so therefore, anything that I identify myself with or identify it with can be let go of, just like in meditation. So what are we? We really are just a watchingness. There's just something watching. And any label, this is the key thing. If we're going to include this in the video, this is the key thing. Any label that you give this watchingness, this watching observer, can be just, that's a label which is a thought. So anything that you say is a label that you're giving this watchingness. Whatever you say, it is. Whatever you think it is, whatever science says it is, it's a label that you're giving this all-pervading watcher. There's just a watcher, and that's all there is. And you'll say I'm the physical body, the watcher just watched that. Watchingness, a watcher just watched that, and that's a thought that can be let go of. So really, we're living in a world of thoughts. Everything about, it's kind of like they say, like everything about you is a thought, and everything about me is a thought. It's just all just a bunch of thoughts. I'll ask you about your dad, your mum, your sister, your brother, your dog, your cat, your work, your boss, whatever. You'll just describe them to me in terms of thoughts. But thoughts is something that can just be let go of by, if you're aware that there's this all-pervading watchingness or watcher. All these labels that you're giving everything can be let go of.
How I interpret what you're saying through my understanding of my recent Buddhist studies is the concept of the mind. There is thoughts. Thoughts are created by the mind. The mind is in fact the underlying continuum or the ground of existence. That everything is mind made. That you yourself are not created by a God. You're not created by a science. You're not created by evolution. You are created by your own mind, and the cause and effect of your mind through many incarnations has created the person you are today, and this mind has created your karma being cause and effect, and the subjective chains of cause and effect throughout the eons that your mind has been in existence has created the person you are today.
That's it, yeah. I mean, these are all just layers upon layers upon layers upon the original point. It's just we're all just experiencing layers. Thoughts and feelings are just layers upon who you are. Now, to get to who you are again, anything you label yourself as can just be watched first and let go of by something that we cannot label.
The mind.
We can't even label it as the mind.
You can't label.
We can't even label the watcher of the mind as anything. So, if we do a self-inquiry, I can ask you a million questions about who you think you are, and everything that you'll tell me is just a label that you're giving the watcher.
Yeah.
You can't even say I am the watcher. because then you've given the watcher a label, an identity, but realistically there is just, you can't say I am the watcher of the mind.
You create a
Because
dichotomy through the language.
You've created an identity for watchingness. It's just there's just something watching, and any label that we give it can just be let go of as a thought about who you are. So really there's just like identityless watchingness everywhere. It's not just
objective consciousness.
and it's just everywhere. And when you have self-realization, you'll expand that awareness itself into the horizons in every direction, and then you become it all. You become it all, and it all becomes alive. It's like life becomes alive. You see the divine essence, awareness itself has an essence to it, and you see it in everything. So you're like in this oneness that you can tap into, and then you can just tap out of. So